You're all set. Have a good meeting.
Thank you, Seth.
Jen Foley. I love it.
Just for you, Penny.
Oh.
All right. I think if we got everybody in, Jen Smith.
Yes, you do, Mr. Snow. You're
Okay,
good
great.
to go.
Thank you, Seth. So good evening and welcome to the April 1st, 2024 meeting of the Scituate Conservation Commission. Just got a couple of quick things to read here. This meeting is being held virtually as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You're hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Scituate in accordance with the open meeting law. And the town of Scituate, Mass's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. The Scituate Conservation Commission is committed to providing an environment of respect during meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there's disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcome and respected. And we ask our committee members and all that participate to commit to these standards and to support and respect our community. Thank you. So with that said, we have an agenda that I'd like to get okayed. I have one small amendment. I'd update members maybe a little bit of the activities at Appleton Field if we have a couple minutes at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
And I think that's, unless anybody else has anything to amend.
Nope.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as presented, including Appleton Fields.
Thank you, Richard. That's
Second.
from Penny. So all in favor, Jen,
Yep.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great, thank you. All right, we're gonna start out with 262, 267 and 0 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. This is the town of Scituate with LEC Environmental.
Hi, everyone. Mark Manganello with LEC.
Do I need to open this? I guess I do.
Yes, you need to open it.
It's another part of the project. So on April 1st, 2024, 6 p.m., the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of the Town of Scituate for work related to demolition of the existing Old Oak and Bucket water treatment plant building, parking area and driveway, lagoon and underground tank area at location 262 to 267 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda post on the website. So that was, when I opened this, there were three numbers, 262 and 276, and then 0. But on the opening part, I didn't have the 0 CJC, but I'm going to put it in there just to be sure. Okay.
I think, yeah, there you are.
Yep, I'm here. I will give you a presentation of this project. This is the fourth and final NOI associated with the new water treatment plant project. Commission will recall approving the previous three, which included the water treatment plant itself, the new water treatment plant, infrastructure improvements in Route 3A, and most recently improvements to the raw water main pump station located adjacent to this project location. So this project involved demolishing the existing treatment plant building, the parking area, and access driveway, as well as some of the other features associated with the water treatment plant located between the building and the pond, Old Oak and Bucket Pond. The building and the parking area, as you can see on this plan, are located outside the 100-foot buffer zone to the wetland around the pond. Within the buffer zone, there is the lagoon that will be abandoned. There's a chain link fence that runs around the perimeter of the lagoon and the adjacent area where there's some some tanks that will be abandoned. That's the rectangle to the left of the lagoon on this drawing. And then the hatching that looks kind of like parquet flooring, that's a colony of invasive Japanese knotweed that we're going to remove and restore that area. So all the areas within the 100-foot buffer zone will be restored with a wildflower seed mix. And then the areas outside the 100-foot buffer zone where the building and the parking areas are located are just, sort of standard loam and seed. And there's erosion controls, on the plan. Those are important, obviously, for demolition activities. But other than that, it's a relatively straightforward buffer zone project. The resource areas are bordering vegetated wetland. There's bank to the pond. BLSF, the floodplain, which you'll recall we dealt with at the raw water pump station project next door, is here, but it's along the toe of the slope, essentially coincident with the vegetated wetland boundary. So there's no work in BLSF with this project. And that's an overview. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Who would like to start with that one?
I have a question.
Penny, then why don't you start?
Okay, it all looks wonderful to me. My question has to do with the ball field next door. And there is a driveway that comes in there right behind your smaller buildings. Okay, now that you're not going to dispose of that, right? That's going to stay that parking area along the chain link fence of the ball field in that roadway in.
Correct. That's not being disturbed. It's not part of the project.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure, because I know people were concerned about that there are actually two driveways there, one next to each other. Okay, that's really the only question I had. Other than that, I think it looks good. It's gonna be nice. It'll be like a park out there, huh?
Well, I wonder what their plans are for it. Mark, well, let's go on to some members.
Yeah, no,
Richard?
Am I correct that the building itself that's going to be demolished is outside of actually conservation purview?
That's right. Yep. It's outside the buffer zone.
Okay. Because my question for that was, is there any reason why that is just going to be loam and seed? But I may have to just leave that alone. So I would love to see some trees put in there or something like that. Maybe not throughout it, because it may be a usable field, but to make it a little more appealing. The rest of it's fine. I have no problems, no questions.
Okay. Jen?
Nope, I'm good.
Brendan?
I'm good.
Okay. Did Eric get on yet?
I do not see him.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience or Jen, do you want to comment on this?
Not now.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience for this one?
I don't see any hands.
Okay. So Penny, Eric
Did you
is
ask
actually
Brendan? Did
got
you
his,
check Brendan?
I did,
I'm sorry.
but Eric's got his hand up, so maybe.
Right, there he is. Hold on.
Hey,
Sorry
Eric.
about
No,
that.
sweat.
No comment. I just want to raise my hand just to let you know I was here.
Appreciate it.
Yay.
Thanks. So Mark, I think Penny brought it up and talking about the parking for the field, but it seems to me like the roadway that they're removing
Yeah,
and the entrance is actually the entrance for the ball field.
I think, let me see. Can you zoom into that area, Jen?
Yes.
The sort of that construction entrance,
yeah, the construction, that needs to stay, Frank.
right?
I wonder if the DPW or whatever's discussed any of this with, I mean, if it's out of the 100, I don't know that it matters a lot to us, but
No, but I don't think that was the intent, was to block the entrance to that in any manner. Certainly, it may just require a minor revision to the drawing in that area to show the, preservation of access.
well, I think right now, though, maybe it's something that they need to talk a little bit more about because the number of people show up for these games, they don't want them parking on 3A. And most of the time people will park in back of the
Treatment plant.
treatment plant and along the other side, Mark. I wonder
Oh, okay.
if this is something maybe somebody needs to look at a little bit more. And I do think Richard's comment about maybe some vegetation, I mean, they're certainly taken down enough at the other end of 3A. It wouldn't be bad to see a few trees planted between 3A and whatever they create, some kind of gravel parking area or whatever, but it just doesn't seem like this has been addressed very well yet.
It isn't anything that's planning on happening for several years, right?
I don't think they could tear this down till the other plant's up and running.
Yeah. But we want to make sure that there is that roadway in the parking for that ball field, because like Frank said, you can't have them on 3A. And it's already existing. It's not as though it's going to be detrimental to anything to leave that. Take the building, but that
Mark-
roadway. Yeah.
Mark, what's the chain of command there? Is that something that the commission should reach out to DPW? Assuming you're working with an engineer.
Yeah, I'm working with Woodard and Curran, the engineers who are working directly with DPW, so we'll certainly get the message to them. It wouldn't hurt for them to hear it from you as well, I'm sure.
Okay. All right. I think we should just continue this. And I would put it out for a little ways, maybe.
Maybe May,
Yeah.
all right, May 6th
I mean,
or
I don't think there's any,
any
No, there's
hurry.
no rush.
Jen, maybe you and I could chat for a second. We'll get an email over to Sean or Kevin or somebody.
Okay,
About the parking and planting, Frank?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Get a motion. What?
We do have some hands raised.
Oh, yeah.
oh
Okay.
yeah, all right, so Stephen Rafferty,
Pretty, yeah.
We'll let Stephen in first.
Trying to.
yep,
Ms. Smith, I know you're dealing with a lot. You want me to assist you here?
There we
yeah,
go.
there he is, no,
I was
he's,
muted
okay.
for a couple minutes. My name is Stephen Rafferty, and I'm the town of Scituate's owner's project manager for this project. We will clarify the work at the entranceway so that access is maintained to the ball field. The other side is that this work will not happen again for several years till the other plant is up and running. And internally, we will look at when we schedule the demolition, such that it's probably would be outside of baseball season anyways, because it comes down pretty quickly when it comes down.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Can you give us your name and address again? I missed part of that.
Yeah, I'm Stephen Rafferty. I work for Ty and Bond, and I have been the town's what's known as the OPM, which is required on projects of this scale.
Okay.
Through the siting and the piloting, and now as we're moving into construction. So
Sure.
I agree that we have to maintain access to the ball field, and I had not seen this plan until now, only because I've been focusing on doing other things. But yeah, we can easily arrange stuff at the top end there, Mark. We'll take care of it.
All right, I think we're just gonna continue this, because the other part is maybe a few plantings or something like that. I mean, I understand you want permission to rip this down and whatnot, but it would be good to maybe have a little better plan. You know, are they gonna create like a gravel area for the ball field or whatever? It would be, I think it would be good to have all that as part of that scope. And I think if you can relay that maybe a couple of trees or some vegetation between 3A and where that is, certainly isn't out of the question for all that's going on here.
Sure thing. I think Lauren Frank from Woodard and Curran has her hand up. If you could unmute her for a moment.
Okay,
Let's see.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
we can.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on that. So,
Can you just give us your name and
Oh, yep.
position there?
Lauren Frank, project manager with Woodard and Curran.
Good evening.
Good evening. So I guess just one little wrinkle, this project's being funded by the state revolving fund. And the town isn't able to award the project without an order of conditions for this demolition. So there's a little bit of concern just extending it that far. Even though the
Well,
work. will
what
be
can
done.
we expect for a revised plan, Lauren?
I mean, we could certainly revise this, and if we could get on your next meeting agenda, we could work with the DPW to address your concerns.
So May 6th is the next open meeting.
Okay, they plan to award this project by June 30th. So as long as we can have an order of conditions by then, a few weeks ahead of that for state approval.
I'm sorry, when was the,
They need to award it by June 30th for the funding.
Okay.
The state will need a few weeks, at least a few weeks ahead of that.
Okay.
For review.
So why don't we continue this to the 6th?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
If you could speak with them, maybe get some plans in ASAP that we'll have a chance to review ahead of time.
Sure.
And then that way, well, because we have a meeting on the 24th, right, Jen? But that's booked up.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
But we
That'd
can
be
have things
great.
ready on the 6th.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, if they get the plans into us quickly, we can review it, and if we're happy or we're not.
yeah, maybe
we'll
we could
back
even have
to
the
that.
orders or something. We could close an issue or whatever. But
Mhm.
I think it would be, it'd be good to have a little clearer plan on that, please.
Make a motion to continue 262, 276, and 0 Chief Justice Cushing to May 6th.
That's Richard. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second from, oh,
Chase.
road jumping.
Penny said a lot of coffee this afternoon or something.
No, I haven't.
So that was a second by Penny. All in favor, Jen,
yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank. Yes, thank you. 30 Cliff Road, John O'Leary. Let's see, where's my to read list here? On April 1st, at 6 p.m., the Scituate Conservation Commission will have a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts General Laws, and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of John O'Leary for work related to constructing a deck at a single-family dwelling on location 30 Cliff Road South, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meetings available on the agenda posted on the website.
Okay, and I think we have Rick from Stenbeck and Taylor.
That is correct. This is Rick Savant with Stenbeck and Taylor, representing the O'Learys for this project. As you stated, we have a residential deck project here. This property is located up on 4th Cliff on the ocean side. It's almost to the top of the slope, but kind of mid-slope on 4th Cliff. The proposed work is within 100 feet of the coastal bank, and it's also within 100 feet of the coastal beach. The proposed deck is out in front of the house on the street side, where currently there is an existing stairway coming out, like a sliding door that's there, comes down to some concrete walks. Those structures are being proposed to be removed, the stairway and both of the walkways, and being replaced with this 12 by 25.5-foot deck in the front of the house. It will have a small stairway kind of centered where the existing walk is. The deck will be put on sonotubes is the proposed. My understanding is there going to be 5 sonotubes to support this deck. It's in an existing lawn area. And that's essentially the project. We don't anticipate any damage or impacts to the resource areas there. Again, we're on the opposite side of the house from them. They're a pretty stable area, but that's essentially the project we're proposing tonight. And I'll answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. Richard, it's right up your alley.
Yeah. I don't really have any questions where it's on the front side and how sort of joins the other houses in the area that pretty much have similar porches or decks. I don't particularly have any questions on it.
Okay. Jen?
Did we, or I can't remember what you said for how many sonotubes it is?
5.
Oh, okay. I think I'm okay for right now.
Okay. Brendan?
I'm okay for right now as well.
Okay. Penny? Did we lose Penny?
Yeah, we lost Penny. She's not at her seat.
Okay. Eric?
No, seems pretty straightforward on sonotubes. And yeah, I think we're looking good.
Jen?
No, I was going to say if you do close it, to issue it also.
Anybody in the audience? Do we have any kind of a cross section or plan or anything? I've seen the site plan and with a proposed deck on sonotubes, but was there anything additional with that, or is that what we got?
Yeah, we wasn't provided a full architectural set. The homeowner had done a sketch of the deck. So no, nothing else was submitted with like an elevation view of this deck. But
Sometimes we see like a cross section or something showing the sonotubes. It's not really critical to us. I'm sure they'll get it to the building department. So, but typically it would be good to have a little detail.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I just, I guess when I was looking at it, because it's replacing a stairwell, I was assuming the sliding door would come out to elevation at the height of the deck, right? Rather than there being a staircase to the deck and that being more level with the ground, unless that assumption was incorrect.
Yes, it's going to be flush with the floor coming out that sliding door, and then as depicted on the plan, there'll be like, 4 steps or so to get back down to grade out on the front. But yes, matching the floor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, Jen, I think you're right. We could close this and vote to issue. I just think maybe they could attach something with a little sketch that should be part of that. That's all.
Okay.
All right. So I'll take a motion.
Make a motion to close. I'm back.
Close and,
Issue.
okay, that's Penny. With the motion, a second.
Second from Jen.
Thank you, Jen. All in favor, Richard
Yes.
and Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Frank, yes. Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
You too.
You too.
Lot A, Booth Hill Road. This was continued and the applicants requested another continuance to April 24th.
Yep. So I'll make a motion, we continue 0 Booth Hill to April 24th.
That's a motion from Penny. Who second?
Second from Jen.
Jen, all in favor. Richard
Yes.
and Brendan
Yes.
and Eric
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great. Thank you.
Woodlawn.
19 Woodworth Road. I think I need to open that one.
Yes. Yes, you do, sir.
On April 1st, 2024, 6 p.m., the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Keith Glenn for work related to construction of a new single-family dwelling. New septic train should be probably retaining wall. And site grading at location 19 Woodworth Lane, Scituate. If others and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website. And who do we have?
Brendan?
Yep, Brendan Sullivan from Merrill Associates. I think also Jeff Delisi is on the call. If he's not, I could
I
jump in.
see his
Okay.
hands up.
Okay.
And do we have Art Allen? Did we
I'm
ask?
here.
Okay, great. Thank you.
They are.
Hey, Penny.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Jeff Delisi here.
We can.
Okay. Seems like you can hear my voice but can't see me, which is fine by me. I'm sure it's no loss to you either.
Do you have anybody else that's trying to be part of this? Do we have a,
Brian Greenberg is our builder with Grit and Grace, and I think we probably can promote him in, though he probably won't have too much to say.
Well, he's got his hand up.
all right,
I'm in. Thank you, John.
okay.
Excellent. Okay. So just I'll just give a brief introduction. It's kind of a pretty direct project. So basically, this is a vacant parcel. While it is close in proximity to Walnut Tree subdivision, it's not actually a part of that subdivision. Just wanted to be clear about that. Actually, Woodworth Lane was laid out on a plan from the 1950s, and we believe that it's grandfathered such that we can construct a dwelling on it without the need for zoning. We are proposing a single-family dwelling, septic system, related appurtenances. You've promoted Art into the call. I know he's analyzed this and prepared a memo after a site visit. I know that there was some question that was discussed at the visit concerning whether the wetland is isolated or bordering. Kind of a distinction without much of an impact insofar as the same standards apply. I think Art is okay with the flag locations, and all the work that we're proposing is outside of the 50-foot non-disturbance buffer strip. And we think we comply with BMP standards, irrespective of how those wetlands are classified. We understand that the commission received an inquiry from abutters over in Northerly Farm. I'll let Brendan present his plan and address those questions, and I'll just step back and be quiet.
Thank you.
Yep.
Great. So for the record, Brendan Sullivan from Merrill Associates. So as Jeff said, we're proposing a single-family 3-bedroom dwelling, footprint approximately 30 by 50, 1,500 square foot footprint, with a paved driveway for access. The septic system will be on the northerly portion of the lot. That's where the test pits were located. With the septic system updated, reserve area, associated utilities, water, telephone, electric cable. So the lot does slope basically from the north to the southeast portion basically towards the wetlands area of the lot. As Jeff said, we did get comments from the Northerly Farm Road folks over there. Even though they're down gradient from us, this basically flows down to an area down in Old Oaken Bucket Road. Northerly Farm flows down towards 123 or Corn Stetson Road. So there's really two kind of distinctive, as we call them, subcatchment areas there where the flow's going to. So even though might be a little bit higher than them, this flow is not going towards that subdivision. And there's no drainage runoff going into that drainage system as well over there. So I think that's about it. As Jeff said, the house is about 57 feet away from the BVW. There's that one flag that kind of kicks close to the proposed dwelling there. The rest of the driveway and the septic and everything else is outside the 50-foot buffer. I think that's about it. We'll take any questions.
Okay.
Yeah, Art first.
Yeah, thanks. Penny. All right, if you want to.
Yep, Art Allen from Ecotech, peer review consultant for the commission. I was out there on site last Friday, walked the wetland boundaries, found the boundary to have been accurately delineated by Brad Holmes of ECR, professional wetland scientist, did a good job on the delineation. The only issue I had with the delineation, or really was just the designation of the wetland. It's actually it's on a slope, drains down towards as noted, but down towards Old Oaken Bucket. And there was actually a stream flowing out of the wetland when I looked at it last Friday, arguably higher water table period than when Brad flagged it. He evidently didn't see any flow, but there was definitely flow on Friday. So I would consider this to be a bordering wetland. I noted that it's not listed on the DEP website. I assume that's because it was assumed to be only a locally jurisdictional wetland. So technically at this point, they should file with DEP and get a file number. Because they are working in the buffer to a BVW. Bordering vegetated wetlands stay regulated, so they should pay the file fees and send the filing into DEP if you want to be technically correct. Also, I just noted, just in terms of the setbacks and the proximity of work, the driveway, the house is angled a bit relative to the wetlands and the property line. And it pushes their driveway out right up to the 50-foot. And as this commission's well aware, it's difficult to both construct and maintain a developed area like this right up to the setback without encroaching into it either during or after construction. It looked to me, I see that the septic tank may be part of what's, kind of controlling that offset, but look to me if they could move that septic tank a bit towards the septic system and away from the house, that they may be able to re-angle the house and give a little bit more setback to the 50-foot buffer, but that would be a question for the engineer that he might have an answer for. Again, this is in writing from my memo of March 30th that was submitted to the commission. It's not so much the limits of clearing that I'm concerned about, because obviously to get this house in there, really will need to clear up to the 50-foot. It's more the impervious area right up to the 50 foot is going to be hard to build and maintain. Also notice just at the far end of the lot in the southerly corner, there's some evidence of both upland runoff and some periodic discharge from what appears to be a water pump station or something up there in that corner off-site that it looks like there's some runoff that comes through, upland runoff that comes through that corner of the site. And just wanted to make sure they were aware of that, both that, in terms of integrity of the project and just that they don't have any additional runoff during construction that might impact the down gradient wetlands. So yeah, it'd be nice to see some actual written responses to these comments before the hearing gets closed. And obviously I think they need to step back and file with DEP and get a file number and go through the process. So that's about it from my perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Art.
Thank you.
You might want to hang around for a minute if you can.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We have
Yeah, Frank, the only thing I'll note, you see down in the on the bottom of the plan, a kind of what appears to be a cul-de-sac on the frontage road.
Yeah.
That's just the layout of Woodworth Lane, but it never was actually constructed.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a unique shape, and it's actually just a straight shot through. That's all.
Straight line, yeah.
okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, who wants to, Jen, do you want to comment yet, or we'll go to the members?
Just saying a bit more of what Art said, that there's about 7 feet from the 50-foot buffer to the one side of the house. Just to keep
Right.
that in mind as
Right.
far as all those trees that everybody's going to be concerned about
Sure.
hanging over the house.
Right,
Uh,
okay. All right, let's see. Jen, do you want to start? Foley?
Sure. I might have, I think I missed it. Is that, or maybe I'm trying to follow the lines, the red square, that's a proposed stockpile,
Yes, that is correct.
but the other red line is limit of work.
Yes, that's basically the hay
Okay.
bale.
Yeah, okay. It was just a little confusing. I would echo Art and Jen's sentiments in that I don't think we have it's challenging to feel confident in this amount of building within the 100, never mind within 7 feet of the 50. So I have some significant concerns about it. Also, it's an asphalt driveway, like there's no, I don't feel like I'm seeing any mitigation for all of these changes. But maybe I'm missing something.
not missing anything.
All right, thank you.
Kenny.
You're right on, Jen.
Brendan?
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna, like Jen and Jen have both said about the house being 7 feet away. I'm not sure. Well, I know how I feel about that, but I don't think that's. I think that's too uncomfortable. Like there's not enough room there. The driveway is actually almost touching the 50. It's paved. The idea of mitigation, I think, I'm not really sure. There's nothing here, but like where this is a completely, this isn't like previously, dirt. Yeah, this is just trees are taking on all these trees. So there's Yeah, I don't like the paved driveway. I don't like the house being so close. Um, we're gonna be hearing about trees hanging over the house, and that's something I guess they should consider because that's within the 50 years, no conservation markers. Is I guess people are going to try and push in, and I guess that's just where my initial thoughts are.
Okay. Um, Richard?
Yeah, my first response kind of follows what Art mentioned. Wondering if there's any reason that it makes it impossible to angle the house a little differently, which would get it a little further away from the 50. It would also allow, if I'm figuring my angles right, for the driveway to be not right on the 50. Not sure I like it on the whole anyway, but at least I think it could be improved a bit. And yeah, there's got to be some mitigation in here someplace. That's my initial thoughts.
Okay. Penny, I know you anything else you wanna?
Oh, I have plenty I want to say. This is a virgin site, 100 foot. I don't like the idea at all of destroying this whole area for this house. Okay, that being said, it needs massive mitigation, at least that's my feeling. 7 feet away from the 50-foot buffer, we have seen over and over again, when we allow that, within a year, you go out there and, oh, well, the tree was over the house. The tree was this, and these trees start to be cut down. And then once they're gone, they're gone. I think they need to go back to the drawing board. The house has to get away from the 50, and you need, oh, I don't like the driveway either. That can't be an asphalt driveway. And you need to come back with a lot of mitigation to take all those trees down. It's virgin property. I mean, the whole thing is in the 100 foot. So, okay, I'm happy. I spoke my piece. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Penny.
Frank, if I could maybe just address a couple of those questions.
Sure.
So yeah, so obviously pulling out of the garage, you got to pull it at 90 degrees. That's the reason why the corner of the driveway is where it is. And as Art said, the reason for the angle of the house is for the septic tank. But we can certainly, rotate the house, maybe even make the house a little bit narrower in that area, rotate it a little bit more, counterclockwise. We are up against the setback. I mean, I know it is a lot of trees being taken down, but if you look at the lot, there's not a quote unquote a lot there to work with outside the 50-foot buffer. So we're stuck between the 50-foot buffer and the building setback. Most of the lot is either, in the resource area or or within the 100-foot buffer to the BVW. We have side yard, rear yard setbacks to deal with. We could certainly also change the driveway surface. We do have, so we're trying to maintain as well is a gravity system, which we think we can maintain from the house to the septic field. That's why we have a couple of D boxes crossing crossing over the driveway. I'd like that area paved because it's a more evenly distribution of the load over the shallow cover for the gravity lines. I also like to have the paved area, at least a small apron up by the house just to make that maneuver coming out of the garage and turning, doing like a 90-degree turn. But yeah, we can certainly, mismatch some of the pavement area to make that gravel, like a stone driveway as well. I got no problem doing that. So we can certainly make some changes here to, make it more of a pleasing project. And so I don't know if, I mean, it's a question. I haven't been in Scituate in a while, to tell you the truth, but do you have a mitigation policy? Like a written policy other than saying you like mitigation? Is there a mitigation policy that you have for the commission?
I don't think we have a real fixed, it's like replacing a tree for a tree or something like that. We don't have anything like that. We just try to look at overall at the project
Sure.
And you're looking to build between the 50 and 100, and you're really right up against the 50, and shoehorning a lot of this in there. So we would definitely be looking. I to be honest with you, I haven't been to the site, so I don't know what other benefits could could contribute to making this a better, helping out environmentally with that. But it seems like this is mostly a take, and not offering much so far. So certainly something they should look at. I think rotating the project somewhat to get the house a little further away, get a little bit bigger space between the 50 and the back, the side of the house and the driveway and stuff are all pretty much a no-brainer from our standpoint. And it is a problem. I mean, I know that lots are hard to come by and people are trying to kind of fit things in wherever they can, but like the members said, we leave these things so close to the house, and then it's not within a year that the commission's getting calls that people want to take down a number of trees near the house. They're concerned about their home, and so now we're encroaching on the 50.
And
So
Frank,
Nope. Understood. We could certainly, as I said, reorientate the house a little bit and get do some mitigation, evergreen plants or some shrubs in there or something as well.
yeah. I'm sorry, Eric, did I jump here?
it's all right. I didn't have too much to add outside of what everyone else has contributed. However, I do look at the plan and just some of the grading on the back side of the house, some of the undercutting that may or may not exist during the construction process, close to the house, the driveway, as well as the regrading as listed on the plan near the leaching field. I just have concerns over the tree health inside of the 50-foot buffer zone as a result of that activity, whether it's piling on closer to the leaching field in terms of raising grade, with the 112, 111, 110, and just changing that grade there into the 50-foot, as well as potentially near the excavation process of the house, undercutting, that area, specifically the tree root zones. They're just concerns over creating an unhealthy tree line there within that 50-foot. So I would, not a huge fan of the project. I'm just going to say that. But those are my specific concerns outside of what everyone else has contributed.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I just briefly be heard?
And this is
Brian Greenberg, the builder.
sure.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, we just wanted to get something down on paper to get in front of the commission and get your comments. We're more than amenable to literally everything you've said. We're fine with a non-asphalt driveway. We'll work with Brendan to move and or shrink the house to get further away from the buffer. We're fine with providing a very clear, either demarcation or physical barrier at the 50-foot buffer. These are retirees looking to build a very, very modest house. The footprint is just on the plan. We have not done any architectural design because we wanted to get through the, get the comments from the commission and see if we had to make any changes to the site, which obviously we do. So I just wanted to get out there that we appreciate being heard. Like I said, these are retirees trying to build a modest house. That's kind of the reason we don't really care about yard. We don't really, the driveway's fine. The kind of all the comments you've made are, reasonable and acceptable to us. And I did just want to correct a minor Scrivener's error. It may have even been on our side, but the applicant is it's actually Glenn Keith. It's confusing with the two first names, but first name
Oh,
Glenn,
okay,
last name Keith.
got it.
Just in case that matters, that's all.
Sure. Well, it's all, make sure we get the right information, that's for sure.
Sure. That was all I had to say. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Can,
And I don't think has this gone to the Board of Health yet? I'm gonna,
It was, yeah, it was submitted either last week or maybe as late as today. So the Board of Health does have it. We submitted through Permitize.
Okay. Do we have a hand up from someone?
Penny has her hand up.
I always have my hand up.
okay.
No, but I mean, I see a
Yeah,
name.
this SEG, SEG. I don't
Okay,
know.
I'll unmute them if they can introduce themselves.
Yes, hi, thank you.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Sue Dower. I live on Northey Farm Estates, and we are one of the abutters to the project. So we had submitted some questions earlier in advance of the meeting. And I know, some of it has been part of the discussion that's been going on. But in general, as abutters, we have a lot of concerns about the removal of trees, the drainage, the dredging that would go on, and the runoff into our neighborhood. We, as a group, encourage the development of Scituate, and this is nothing against the folks that want to build the home. It's just over the last several years, with the entire walnut tree development that's in front of us, a lot of changes that they have made in the topographical services, adding decks, or as you say, tree encroachment. They've removed trees, and the water into our neighborhood has just been incredible. There are residents who have suffered thousands and thousands of dollars worth of corrective work, putting in French drains, redoing sod. It's incredible. We basically live now in an area where every time it rains, it floods down our driveways into our backyards. It's incredible. So we're just very, very concerned about the removal of trees. We appreciate the, desire to protect the wetlands, but we also want to be protected as well.
And I'm sorry, could just, again, your address?
Sue Dower, and it's 16 Northey Farm Road. So we are the development that sits below Walnut Tree.
That comes in off of 123?
Yes.
Okay.
And
was that built before or after?
I want to say after, I'm not sure. I think it started in about 2005, 2006.
But it's relatively new. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Northerly Farm Road was approved as a OSRD in 2002.
Okay.
Walnut Hill was approved in 96, 97.
Got it. I'm
Um,
just trying to piece it together in my
Yeah, and
my
this,
head.
as I stated earlier, that most of the, if not all of the flow from this, goes in the north, and I think Art can even attest to this. It goes in the northeasterly direction towards the wetlands, towards the northeast corner of the lot, which is lower than Northerly Farm, and discharges towards Old Oak and Bucket. It doesn't go towards Northerly Farm. Art, do you remember that being out there at the site? Do you recollect that direction of flow?
I mean, other than just going down towards Old Oak, and I didn't really analyze any further than that. Sorry.
It's fine. But maybe we could try to get a little bit bigger picture of how this works. I'm familiar with a lot of places, and I know where all these pieces kind of fit together, but it does puzzle me a little bit.
Sure,
how
I can give an overall topographic of the area and give you an idea of where things are going.
Frank,
um,
if you went out, it might be beneficial for you to take a look at the site.
Yeah.
That, I
Yeah.
think that'll answer some of your questions. Just
but I think I'm looking at one thing on the map here. I was trying to pull up a couple of larger pieces, but just trying to get a real lay of the land. So I that would be helpful. Um,
Yeah, this is Brian again. I'm happy to meet any commission members at the site for a walkthrough at your convenience.
okay. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Looks like we have another hand up.
Okay, Becky Coyne.
Okay. Becky, if you can give us your name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Becky Coyne. I live at 12 Northey Farm Road. I'm a neighbor of Sue Dowers, and my property is pretty much directly behind the proposed plans. On the map that's been on the information submitted, you can't see the information about the abutters, but I have a plan that show from a recent survey of my property that does show all of my abutters, including the ones up on Woodworth. And so I can see how our lot connects with the lot on Woodworth Lane. And I somewhat would argue that the water easement, which we've always called the Kelly cart path, some of the maps that I've seen in Scituate have it named as the Kelly Lane or Kelly Way, is used by the town. It's where we have the water pipes that come and I believe feed all of that neighborhood up above us. But in any event, I do think the water, as I'm looking outside, is going to flow down, and it's going to flow into that what is called on your map the water easement. And it will just continue, possibly, unless there's some sort of catch drain or something that will make it flow all the way then down to Old Oaken Bucket. If there is something that can catch that water and direct it down, as opposed to now crossing just those few 20 feet or so into my yard, I'd like to know that there is some plan that will take care of any of that sort of runoff.
Okay. Brendan, you've got the gist of that. I guess the other reason I'm trying to piece that together, because of the piece that you mentioned, this Kelly right of way or something, I do remember something about a water line being cut in and there was water coming out and of that area, and it created quite a bit of disturbance for the folks on Woodworth.
Yeah,
Back when that was built, the folks that had lived at Woodworth for a long time kind of felt the brunt of both both
it
of
may
those
have,
other both of
that's,
those other subdivisions, both Northerly and Walnut Tree, sort of had impacts on
yeah.
on that side as well.
Yeah,
So
I don't know how, I mean, there are sort of there's an old stone wall at the end of my property and an old stone wall at the end of the proposed property. And it really is this unpaved way that goes down to Old Oaken Bucket,
Yep.
angled down, and then ends up and it makes a 90-degree turn, as you can see on the plan. Well, actually, you can't. But if you
No.
look at other neighboring properties, and it goes up to the Modern Continental's pump house, which is behind the lot that is right next adjacent to the proposed lot. So there are a lot of utilities, town utilities in the ground in that what again is called a water easement.
Yeah,
Okay.
that pump house is in that triangular parcel
Mhm.
that's on the map. I just wanted to point out, just because.
We lost somebody.
Oh no, I Sorry,
Okay.
I finished my sentence and then abruptly stopped.
Okay.
The challenges of Zoom, apologies.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I think would like to look at a little bit more
Yeah,
closely.
so we'll
Can I ask one more question too? I mean, with both those projects in that proximity, the question came up, I think, between Arts, um, and maybe Art, you want to weigh in on this a little bit. The difference between a BVW and IVW for that location. Did either one of those other projects, they've been a while, so obviously it's not within the past few years, but was wetlands delineated on those projects? Maybe that's something, Brendan, you want to look at as well to
Well,
see if there's some connection there.
I know Brian might have some information as far as the owner, because the owner has lived in the house. He grew up in the house and it was never wet back there before the Walnut Hill subdivision was put in, and the water pump house up there. So this wetland in my mind was probably created from, probably a combination of Walnut Hill and probably Northerly Farm.
Well, I guess that's
Yeah,
my
Frank-
go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I've looked at this a fair amount. So yeah, looking at contemporaneous site plans from when the subdivision was begun, there are frequent references specifically to IVW. In fact, on the plans it says isolated wetland dash not subject to Wetland Protection Act. And every one of these, because we did have Brad Holmes, our wetland consultant, flag considerably further down toward Old Oak and Bucket, so we could get a sense of where the wetlands were, going back down that water easement. And when you compare that to, again, the contemporaneous site plans from 20 whatever it was, 16, 17, 18 years ago, they're considerably larger. And then if you go kind of up where Ms. Coyne was referencing that 90-degree turn and the pump house, there's a flared culvert kind of across the easement. So if you imagine that easement going in I guess that's the southwest direction, and then it takes a hairpin right turn, and then you have that kind of triangle shaped parcel where the pump house is. If you go and right on the other side of the easement, there's a retention pond and a culvert that I'm not a drainage engineer, so I can't say if it's functioning as it should be, but it if it's functioning as it should be, then it doesn't appear it was well designed. And so, our contention is that there's considerable at least circumstantial evidence that the wetlands have grown as a direct result of the Walnut Hill subdivision. I think our clients share the same opinion that the Northey Farm folks do of the Walnut Hill construction. I know that they, their kids used to play in the backyard 20. I mean, as we started this project and started talking about wetlands, they're literally telling us about, yeah, I mean, we used to look out at grass in our backyard and our kids used to play back there and make forts and whatever. And then they talk about literal mudslides coming down the street.
I don't mean to cut you off. We got a couple more hearings
I
tonight,
got you.
and I understand. I just
Yeah, no, understood.
being in
Understood.
town and following all of this, and it's a little, it's not all crystal clear in my mind, that's for sure. But I know that there were a lot of players and a lot of moving pieces, and I think it would be beneficial for the commission as well as folks around this to have a little better picture, because I know that lots of issues were created. There was a lot of folks really frustrated with runoff and all that from these areas, and that's why I think it's important to get some more information on this, and at the same time address some of the other concerns that the commission members had. So I think you've gotten enough feedback from us tonight.
Yep. Thank you.
What kind of time frame, Brendan, Brian, would be needed to
When's
I
your,
defer to Brendan.
is the next meeting the first meeting in May? Is that one?
Well, the next open agenda is May 6th.
Okay, yeah, let's stick with May 6th. I mean, that's, you know, a month away, so I can get plans. You need revised plans like a week in advance?
The more the
Minimum.
merrier, because we'd like to get it, Art is gonna help us with this, and,
Okay.
I think it's important that he has time, and I don't know other people's schedules, so obviously, if you don't think that that's doable, the 6th, and the meeting after that is the 20th.
So
But,
let's shoot for the 6th. I think that's manageable.
all right, but I'd like to get information to the members, to Art, and then if we decide that, you know, a little
Yeah,
bit more
I can
time
get it
to
I
look
can get it,
things over.
I can get it to you 2 weeks before.
All right.
We're
Okay.
gonna hold you to it.
Do we have any other comments? I see one other hand up.
I thought we did that. We can go again.
That's the neighbor.
You said you still have a,
I think-
Yes.
yep, go ahead. And again,
Um,
just your name and address again. I'm sorry.
sure, sorry, Sue Dower, 16 Northey Farm Road.
Sure.
If either before or after those plans are drafted, if the abutters could be involved in any kind of walkthrough that happens, I would appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
All right.
happy to include abutters on any walkthrough of the property. Sorry, this is Brian again.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
let's get the information together and see where it goes. All right. So I need a motion.
I make a
to-
motion, we continue 19 Woodworth Lane to May 6th.
That's a motion from Penny. Do I have a second?
Second from Jen.
All in favor, Richard
Yes.
and Brendan
Yes.
and Eric
Yes.
and Frank. Yes. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, 181 Edward Foster Road. On June 1st, 2024, 6 p.m., Situate Conservation Commission will hold a
Not June
wetland.
1st,
I'm
April
sorry,
1st.
April 1st. I want to move this along, Penny.
I know, I
I
guess
want to get
so.
out of all this murky weather.
Yeah.
April 1st, Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Situate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Timothy White for work related to building a new patio, walkway, repaving driveway, resetting pavers, and landscape improvements, including installing filtration area, a single-family dwelling at location 181 Edward Foster Road, Scituate. Others and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the website. And who do we have?
I think we have Grady,
Sure.
Mr. Brodsky. Is
Thank you,
everybody
Chairman.
unmuted?
Thank you, Chair Snow. This is Adam Brodsky. Can you hear me?
We got you. Good
Excellent.
evening.
You've disabled my video, so good evening, everyone.
We did?
My name is Adam Brodsky. I'm a local environmental and land use lawyer, and I represent the applicants Timothy and Laura White. And as Ms. Smith indicated, we have tonight also Rick Grady, our registered professional engineer with Grady Consulting. John Zimmer, who is our professional wetland scientist, unfortunately is not available tonight. I think this commission is familiar with the property. There have been various projects and filings relating to the property over the years, and there are currently house renovations ongoing. As Rick will explain, there are various wetland resource areas on the site, and will explain that this property is at one of the lowest points of Edward Foster Road, and it receives a great deal of stormwater from the street, as well as neighboring properties which are higher. And this results in the yard area actually shown on the site plan filling with stormwater. This stormwater is not related to coastal flooding. This is literally stormwater coming down Edward Foster Road and then sheeting across the abutting properties to fill this lot. The Whites proposed an engineering solution to this problem last year, which was more complicated. involved the pumping of stormwater up gradient, and ultimately withdrew that notice of intent. Rick has redesigned the project and reduced its complexity. And so I'll ask Rick in a moment to describe the project. We had occasion to meet with Chair Snow, Ms. Smith, Ms. Scott Pipes, and Art Allen, who was in the area reviewing another project. We understand that the commission is going to require a peer review of the wetlands delineation. Ms. Smith was kind enough to forward to me this afternoon Mr. Allen's proposal. I've yet to have an opportunity to review that with the client, but we understand that we'll need to continue this evening to have that process go forward and give us an opportunity to respond. So with that brief introduction, I'm going to hand this over to Rick to take you through the plan and explain the project. Thank you.
Can we unmute Rick?
He was unmuted and now he doesn't have sound. Here he is. There we go.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Jen had unmuted me, and then I muted myself because I had to cough, not realizing I wouldn't be able to get back on again. So there's no cough button. I got it. Thank you, Rick Grady from Grady Consulting. As Adam had mentioned, this is a property the commission visited on Friday, something the commission's been working on for many, many years, and the Whites have been working on for many, many years as well. I only recently became involved with it. We met on site with Mr. White several months ago, reviewed his property here and some of the stormwater challenges that he was facing. I understand that he has mitigated a lot of invasives off of the lower portion of his property here, which is currently having trouble with flooding and stormwater here. As part of keeping the invasives out of the area between the house and the coastal resource area there, he has to maintain that lawn area. It's becoming very difficult for him to maintain that with the frequency of the stormwater flooding. And it's just really too wet and mushy for him to even run the lawnmower out there. So some of the goals that we were trying to accomplish with this design is we're well aware of the 2015 restoration area on the left-hand side of the screen there. So we noted that on the plan. We're recognizing it. We're not proposing any changes to that area. We would like to leave it alone. However, the lower portions of the property where he is having the flooding issues and needs to maintain that area to keep the invasives out, we had done 3 test holes in that area. We found approximately 4 feet of a silty fill material, which we believe to be dredge material from the harbor at some point in the past. Beneath that, we found a dry, loamy sand layer. It did become inundated after we opened up our test holes. However, we do think that we can make contact with that with this proposed drainage solution that we're proposing. And what that will consist of is a kidney-shaped area where we want to lower that grade a couple of feet there. The coastal dune was recently redelineated by John Zimmer with the CD flagging sequence there that's just to the north of the proposed drainage system here. That's a mix of beach cobbles, rounded stones, as well as some Rosa rugosa in that area to help stabilize the coastal dune area. It's actually quite stable. We'd like to mimic the look of that with the rounded stones on the coastal dune that's mixed in between the Rosa rugosa. And so this depression here that we're proposing, about 2 feet deep with a couple of precast leaching pits in the middle of it, would make contact with the drier soils underneath. We'd like to remove the silt layer that's there, that's trapping the surface water, and direct the surface runoff to this depression here to promote infiltration, dry up the surface, and help him fight the invasives that he's been dealing with here. As Adam had mentioned, this is a redesign of a previous submittal that was ultimately withdrawn. We did eliminate a large retaining wall that was proposed as part of that. We eliminated pumps within a drainage system, which isn't desirable as they do suffer from power outages here on a fairly regular basis. We're not proposing any changes to the driveway area. However, we would like to rebuild the drainage system in there and make that connection into this proposed infiltration area that we have. We'd like to do a little bit of regrading, but nothing too drastic. You can see the existing 10 contour, 9 contour, 8 contour, along with the dash for the existing and the solid line for the proposed. The entire site is within the most recent map FEMA flood zone of elevation 15, zone AE. We are proposing erosion control during construction to minimize erosion and sedimentation. And we do believe this solution will help dry this area up to enable him to fight off the invasive species that he's dealing with here. And we'd be glad to answer any questions the commission may have.
Thank you. So we did have the opportunity to have Art take a look at this. He was in town to look at another project, and we had requested that he review this, and we at the time that he did that, he hadn't been engaged. I don't know, what's the status of that now, Jen?
We sent the request for funding for him to peer review. That was just sent today.
Okay.
Adam said he got it today, yeah.
All right.
That's correct, Chair Snow. I got it this afternoon. I forwarded it to the client. We just haven't had a chance to review it and talk about it.
Okay. So I guess I'm just sort of wondering how far we want to take this evening.
Chair Snow, again, we're happy if the commission wants to continue this, understanding that we need to go through the peer review process.
Well, let's go through some members quickly. Just give you a little bit of feedback. There's no point in belaboring this too much tonight.
And just a reminder that a lot of this work is in the 50-foot buffer to the dune and also coastal bank.
Yep.
Maybe Jen, to your point, Adam, did you say that John Zimmer delineated the coastal dune?
I believe that is correct, and I'll be corrected by Rick.
Yes, it is correct. We realized when Jen posed the question a few weeks ago about the delineation that it was actually delineated over 3 years ago. So we did have him reflag it on March 3rd, and we submitted a revised plan with the updated delineation, and it was by John Zimmer.
Okay. Thank you. Well, let's go through just maybe it'd be helpful for the applicant. And it's just to get a quick overview for this evening. Penny, you were able to come out to the meeting last Friday.
Yeah, one question, actually, there's only one question I want to ask. I am anxious to see Art's written report once that's all taken care of. But when you were just speaking, you said you're going down a couple of feet. My understanding was you were going 4 feet through the clay. When I was out there, am I mistaken that there's 4 feet of clay on top of the sand? So that's a big difference from 2 feet you just said tonight.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that's a very good question. We are proposing to go down 4 feet below ground.
Yeah.
The surface was the finished product would be a 2 foot deep depression.
I
But the
understand.
stone would
Yeah.
extend down to 4. We want to make contact with the dry soil underneath.
All right. I would like Art and, yeah, to see his report. I have lots of questions, but I think Art will answer a lot of them for me. Okay, Frank, I just.
Okay. Thank you.
wanted
Richard?
Yeah, I think that, where is my microphone here? I think that anything, I think we're a little early until we get Art's report. We're just going to be redundant with a lot of questions that might get answered with Art's work. And the only other question I would have, which can wait, is, where are they going to take all the stuff they've taken out? But all that can wait. I just think that everything we're going to do now is going to be redundant.
Okay. Jen?
Sorry, off mute. Yeah, exact same. Interested in arts feedback.
Okay. Brendan?
Yeah, I don't have any questions right now.
Okay. Eric?
Just for context, what are the invasive species? I apologize if it's a note on here that I missed that are being combated on the site.
What was the invasive species? Tim, are you unmuted there? What was the invasive species?
So I probably can answer that, Rick.
Okay.
Mr. Di Tommaso, there's a long history with this property. And my recollection is at one point, the property owners were battling with Phragmites, which were ultimately eradicated. And that process began in the 2007 timeframe. And so the area's been, except for the area that's shown on the site plan as the restoration area, which had been replanted with wetland species by the clients several times, beginning in 2014, and which species never survived despite best efforts. That the rest was lawn that was mowed and maintained to prevent the return of the Phragmites.
Okay, no, thank you. Just because there was mention of Rosa rugosa too, which, while not listed as a restricted species in Massachusetts, has been in abutting New England states as an invasive. It isn't introduced. I just didn't know if that was the target or if it was another species. So thank you. I appreciate that.
No, I think those are some of the species that are anchoring the coastal dune and are existing, and we're not doing any work on the coastal dune. As Ms. Smith said, this is all landward and essentially within that buffer.
Thank you, Adam. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, Frank, let's just continue this.
All right, just a couple other quick things, maybe for a little bit more information at some point in all this. Rick, just thinking about the hydrology here, and you're fairly confident that you're going to be able to use that as a drain as opposed to not introducing more water to the property?
Correct. We're not introducing any additional water to the property. We are providing, that's a fairly large storage volume that we're providing in there. So we're going to be able to store a lot of that surface, what's sitting on the surface currently today, and we'll be promoting infiltration as well.
I guess my concern would be in breaking down below that layer that you wouldn't in fact bring up water as opposed to having it go down, but I'm not a hydrologist. So,
yeah, the test holes were really important for us to be able to finalize that conclusion there. And
okay.
The soil was dry as we were excavating the test holes down. They got inundated pretty quickly from the surface water, but they were initially dry.
Huh. Okay.
So it was definitely from the top down, not from the bottom up.
Yeah. And then the designation of the coastal bank, I'm not sure that I can confirm that.
The dune or the bank.
I'm sorry, say that again, Jen.
So there's the dune right next to where they're working. They're working right up to it. And then there's bank. I that maybe that's farther away.
And is that, I forget, is that gonna confirm that, or would he confirm that or not?
He would just be doing wetland, if I can speak for Art. That was what I think we have him for.
Okay,
It-
all right. So how much time do we think we need to get all of that done? I know that Mr. White's got concerns. He showed us a lot of runoff he's catching on his property and he'd like to start to address it. I don't blame him.
Chair
but-
Snow, it's Adam Brodsky. I don't know how quickly Mr. Allen can turn around his report. Obviously, then we would like an opportunity to review it
Yeah.
and have our consultants respond.
So do you think I think Jen's already said the next meeting's pretty full, so we're looking at either May 6th or May 20th.
Yeah.
Well,
Adam, what do you
yeah,
think?
if we have a preference, May 6th would be preferable.
Jen?
Yep, May 6th.
Okay. So I'd take a motion to continue this hearing to May 6th.
I make a motion, we continue 181.
I'm sorry, you know what? I didn't ask. Is there anybody in the audience for this
Okay.
one?
Frank, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Jeff DeLisi, I represent the Kerns who live right next door at 179 Edward Foster Road. I understand the commission is waiting on Mr. Allen's report, so I'm not going to belabor. I just want to point out the obvious. I think the commission is aware that this property has had a few projects over the course of the last 10 or 15 years or thereabouts, starting with the Phragmite. And I just want to make sure that when Mr. Allen reviews this, I think it's essential that he, has a keen eye towards, what the delineations were over a period of time. The Kerns are interested in promoting good drainage, so this could potentially be a solution. We want to make sure that it's accurate and that the science backs it up, and that the biggest concern they have is that area tends to pond and then the water moves vertically or horizontally kind of across, and they just want to make sure that they don't have any additional displacement on their property. So that's it. Just make sure that this is looked at. For some reason I thought in one of the prior plans I had seen that there was a BVW on the property in that particular area. But I'm not sure if that's relevant or not, but at least I think it's important to have a good baseline understanding of what's going on with the property. That's it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Adam, do you have
Chair,
anything? Yep, Adam, go ahead.
I was just going to let the commission know that when we filed this notice of intent, I reached out to Attorney DeLisi to open a dialogue with the Kerns. Because last thing we want to do is cause any impact to their property, which is directly to the east. And so I just wanted the commission to understand that. And
Appreciate it. Yeah, you're all packed in there, and
Okay.
there's been a lot of development that's created some tough spots for a few people. So it'd be great if they could work together to do that. Awesome. Okay, so we have did we get as far as some?
I'm trying to make.
We got one more. We got one more hand up.
Okay.
Which
Barbara Marabito. Oh, we got a bunch now.
okay.
All right, Marabito, I just
Yep.
unmuted.
Hey, Frank,
Yes.
this is Paul Marabito.
Good evening, Paul.
I'm a direct abutter. I'm within a few feet of that subsurface recharge system.
Yeah.
What's
I
the
would
address
say
there,
that-
Paul?
Pardon?
What's the address there?
23 Henry Lane.
Okay.
You can see my unit just to the left of the shaded area, the recharge area.
Mm.
I would say this is a long, long overdue project. I've owned the property next door for 30 years now, and the water that collects in there is problematic. It does provide a breeding area for the mosquitoes in the warmer weather. Plus the water that is coming in there is, from what I've been able to notice over the last 30 years, is that it's the runoff from the uphill areas. That area does get quite a bit of water, and I think you and the members have seen that. So I would encourage the commission to approve this project as designed. Rick has done the test pits, and I have seen the results, and they're accurate. I have a similar soils on my property, but we don't have a pond in the water that the white property has. So with that, I'll end, and I guess we'll wait for the next meeting.
Thank you, Paul.
And Chair Snow, this is Adam Brodsky. To Mr. Mirabito's point, this is also intended to protect all of the structures nearby. As we're seeing storms intensify, additional rain conditions are only going to get worse. We certainly don't want this to threaten either the White's property or Mr. Mirabito's structure.
Sure. Thank you. And did we have one other person, or is that
Maybe they're gone now.
Penny?
No.
I don't see their hand up.
Okay, so I'll go with them. I make a motion to continue to May 6th.
Okay, we have a motion.
181 Edward Foster. Yeah.
A motion from Penny. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
From Brendan. All in favor, Richard?
Yes.
And Jen?
Yep.
And Eric?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. Thank you.
Thank you
Yes,
very much.
Thank you. I got everybody.
Yes, you did. No, I'm laughing at Brendan.
All right. 817 Country Way, we have a request to continue that to April 24th.
Yep, I'll make a motion. We continue Country Way. I don't know what's the number?
817.
817 until April 24th.
Motion from Penny. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second from Eric. All in favor? Richard?
Yes.
Jen?
Yep.
And Frank, yes.
Okay. Second footing.
And Brendan, yes.
And Brendan,
Yes.
yes. Sorry, Brendan.
That's okay. I just, you know.
It's getting confused. A little.
Ah,
So then we have,
it's April Fool's Day, friend.
it is
You're
31 Peggotty Beach Road. This is request for determination of applicability on 4/1/24 during the 6 p.m. meeting. The Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Nicholas Accomando for determination of applicability of the Wetlands, Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Scituate Wetlands bylaws for activities related to constructing a new deck and 4 footings at a dwelling at 31 Peggotty Beach Road. Butters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meeting is available in the agenda posted on the website. And
I
do
think
we
we-
have anybody on for this?
Yeah, you got
We've-
Nick.
Yep.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Tell us what you're doing.
We're putting, or we would like to put a deck in front. The exact, it's an uncovered deck. It would be about 3 feet above the ground, running across the front of the property. The exact dimensions, there is the front of the property right there. So you would see the stairs. Those stairs would stay. However, we're going to put wooden stairs over it to stabilize them. As far as the dimensions of the deck, I believe it comes out 10 feet and goes, it's 3.5 feet up, 16 feet across. Those stairs, four feet represented there. So it's 20 feet in total. If we go to the next one, I believe it comes out. Okay, it's not there. It's going to come out 10 feet. So it's going to be 20 by 10.
Okay.
Okay, it's on the roadside.
Oh, and 4 pilings. My apologies. I should have added that piece too.
4 sonotubes, right?
Uh,
You're not driving pilings. You're gonna put in
Sonotubes.
I don't know what that means. I
footings.
apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, footings,
All right.
footings for
Okay.
sure. Yeah, not pilings. My apologies.
Nope, it's fine.
Right.
Okay. Pretty straightforward. Brendan,
I do not have any questions.
Jen,
Nope.
Penny,
Looks good.
Richard,
I'm fine.
Eric.
No comment, no.
I think that looks Jen, I'm sorry.
I don't know which Jen, but I'm good.
You, Jen.
I think
Okay.
I got to Jen Foley
Okay.
already, so I'm sorry. I should say Jen. Okay, so I'll take a motion
I make a motion for a -3.
I'll second it.
from Richard. All in favor? Jen,
Yep.
Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank. Yes, great. Well, that was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay, so what are we on to now? Some orders of conditions?
Yes.
Orders of condition. Okay, we'll do them all together. I make a motion, we accept the orders of condition as written for. Can I do them all together? Cause they're all-
Sure.
Okay, North Scituate revetment Glades Road site, North Scituate revetment Seaside site, 52 Peggotty Beach Road, 0 and 17 Pondview Ave.
It's a motion from Penny. Do I have a second?
Second from Jen.
All in favor, Richard
Yes.
and Brendan
Yes.
and Eric
Yes.
and Frank? Yes. Great. Thank you. We have a request for an extension of 148 Hatherley Road.
So that's the Seaside
Oh,
Scituate.
brothers. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were looking for 2 years.
And
Just to finish up their project, is that what
Yep.
it is?
Yes.
yeah. I think that's probably,
We can do 2
Reason-
years for all of them.
yep.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to,
Well,
I,
let's
I've
let
lost my
Jen,
words.
let's let
Yeah.
Jen explain the other
Yeah.
ones.
Yes.
So the ORAD for 249.
Right. So they've been 4 years. They had the 1-year extension with COVID. So another 2 years would get them their full 3. And then Glades Road was a septic project that just hasn't started yet. And this would
Okay.
be their first extension.
Okay.
Can
So
I just ask what the 279 OOBR? I
I
mean,
would say
what?
that's
Oh, it's an
Olokan Buck-
ORAD. Oh, yeah.
OOBR. Is that Olokan Bucket Road?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
How long have you lived in Scituate?
Oh, I've lived here way long.
All right.
I'm sorry.
All right. It's 7:45. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay,
So
so
that's a motion from Penny.
yeah, for all the extensions, they all,
Do I have a second?
Second from Jen.
And all in favor, Richard
Yep.
and Brendan
Yes.
and Eric.
Yes.
Great. Okay, thanks. So now we have requests for certificates of compliance, and there's one of them that I have to recluse myself, the 121 Indian Trail. So if you want to do the,
Well, there's no voting for these.
oh, that's right too.
Just letting people know that we're issuing these.
Good.
233 Clap Road. Oh, different orders.
Yep.
Indian Trail, septic, and then 254 Central.
They rebuilt the front of their house, the
Yeah.
patio but that's been completed. And then 4
Good.
Garfield,
That's all. done.
Oh, I don't
They
have.
elevated it and
Yep.
that's complete.
Yep.
Good, good.
And then
Um,
the minor modification is the other thing. They have a few piles to fix or
It
replace.
says here that they, maintenance is covered under chapter
Yes.
91, Jen. Okay,
Correct.
Yeah.
so do we have to vote on that? I don't, yes,
don't- I don't think so. I
okay.
think that's something Jen can just issue. Steve
As long as
actually,
if everybody's
Yeah.
good, I'm just letting you know we're doing it.
Great.
Yeah, it's onto the maintenance. Hip hip hooray, okay.
do we have anything else, Jen?
You had an Appleton update?
Just, I got a email, Eric, you made.
Yeah.
Also, we got an email from Sally, who has been sort of coordinating some of the, well, Eric, you've spoken to her a little bit.
Yeah, I received the same email, just about their update with the Cohasset Scouts and the work they did up there clearing out some of the plastic netting, netted fencing, as well as some of the green painted posts. I was able to get up there earlier today just to take a look at the work they did. They did a decent clearing job up there. I think Frank, you had mentioned in your email that you were able to get up there and take a look as well. It looks like they actually did get a considerable amount of work done for what didn't appear to be, in the photos at least, a large group. So I think that Leo should be all set to get going up there as his schedule is allowing him. So I don't know, Frank, that's the only thing, was if Leo was planning on brush cutting anything beyond where Sally and crew were able to clear, meaning on the far side of, I think where you and I took a look when we were walking the site, where there's a substantial amount of rows, or if that all needed to be cut before Leo was able to brush hog that. I can't remember what the discussion was that we had on how high that needed to be, but or if that was even in his scope.
Sure.
But
So, question for you, do you think that there's any worry about him just cutting that multi-floral rows, just grinding it up? Will that create any problem? I mean, there's some things like Phragmites you don't want to, you'd rather get rid of them or burn them or do something else to destruct them. But with the multi-floral rows and the bittersweet, will he make it worse by just mowing that and mulching it, Eric, do you think?
so I think if it's broken up enough, it should be fine. It does have the ability to reroot, and not like a willow, certainly. I mean, a willow, if you put that down, it'll root, the first chance that it gets. But this has a minor potential of rerooting from a cutting if it's left long enough above ground after being cut to allow that cambium layer to dry out. There's little chance of it rerooting. And the other thing is it needs to have some sort of consistent moisture and soil contact. And given the density of the brush that's going to be cut, I don't anticipate that to be the case. And if it's cut small enough, I don't think that there's a significant risk.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Will,
Go
will
ahead,
they be
Penny.
climbing up there this year, Eric? Are you gonna haul water in again like they did last year?
So they do have 250 gallon
Yeah.
cubes up there. I think there's 3 of them currently.
Uh-huh.
They're going to try and do something up there.
Okay.
To the extent I'm not entirely sure what they'll be able to. I did talk to Sally regarding a couple of the other people that were involved with that project. Ken was one of them. I didn't reach out, Frank, to him before I talked to Sally, just to see what her communication had been with him. And that was 2 weeks ago when I picked up those paint cans with her. And she said that she was going to be potentially seeing him at one of their meetings for the Friends of Appleton that they're sort of getting volunteers together. But he had been silent towards her as well in terms of communication prior to that conversation that I had with her on site. So I haven't received an update from Ken, but it depends on the level of involvement, Penny, just to answer your question on the extent of activity up there. But I do know that there will be some this season.
Okay, just one other thing, okay? Do you think you can get a price about a well before July? Because if you want to come to CPC for the funding to do the well, it has to be by July 1st. That application has to be in, okay? And I would love to see that go forward this year, if at all possible, all right? I just want to, remind you that July 1st is the cutoff date for the fall application.
I appreciate that reminder. I think I had mentioned before the biggest challenge with getting an estimate from these companies is just
Getting them out.
the amount of feet. Well, that and the amount of feet,
I
there's
understand
no
what
way for them to be able to, it could be 10,000, it could be $20,000. And with that range, it's going to be, I think, tough to nail down some of these well diggers to get an estimate on paper that would, I think, be amenable to CPC. Frank, you might have a better understanding of that than I, but I know specifically Jim Watt will not be giving you a definitive number.
Okay, I'm
Can
not
I,
looking for a definitive number. CPC, we would rather you came in with a proposal on the higher end, so you have the funds to do it. Okay, so if you're talking 10 to 20,000, you're not sure. You come in and ask for the 20, it isn't used, it goes back to CPC. We would prefer you to, come in on the safe side of what it could be. So you don't need a hard and fast proposal from somebody, but we need an idea, a range, okay?
Eric, and thank you, Penny. So, Eric, I'm a little bit of a slow processor with some of these things, but I did have an idea the other day when I drove in there. I believe Morse Engineering designed that roadway for us in the parking area, and Jen and I are going to be meeting with Greg Morse. Almost today, when you propose to do a well, you almost need to engage an engineer to find out where you're allowed to put the well. I mean, I'm not too worried about septics and stuff, but property line setbacks and stuff. One of the conversations that Eric and I have had is maybe the possibility of not like putting the well all the way out at the field, but putting the well closer to Clap Road, so that maybe with just a couple of power poles set, we could get to a point where the well could be installed closer to Clap Road and then a pipe be laid along a stone wall or something to get it out to the field. It's one of the considerations we've been talking about. So I think Jen and I actually have to meet with Greg on something else, and I was going to ask him if he wouldn't mind taking a look at that, and he could I think, fairly quickly come up with a rough idea of where a well might actually feasibly be able to be installed. And then maybe between you and I, we could reach out to like Jim and just say, hey, we got this spot and we just need some sort of a ballpark number. And if he gave us, he said, my deepest well's been 600 feet or 700 feet or something, and that cost would be X, then maybe we could put together enough information to go to CPC and say, here's what we got. I mean, the good part with the CPC funding is as long as they're in agreement with it and they see the value and they fund it, if they give us more, we just return the money. We still have to go through the bid process and all that sort of thing. So I think that might be a good approach on that. And it's been kind of you know, a slow process getting this one going. It doesn't get the exposure, and people are a little reluctant without the water up there, but there does seem to be some traction and interest, and Andy got the fence installed.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get some mowing done. And then I think we'll try to do as much mowing as we can with the money we have for that. And we'll work with Costello to see what makes the most sense in terms of cleaning up some of those areas. It's just, unfortunately, all that fencing's got entwined with all the other things that have grown up there between the rows and the
Yeah.
whatnot. So it's a little tough to pull that all apart, but it's a good start. I'm enthusiastic. I'm excited about it. And it's nice to see some things happening. And when I've been up there a couple of times, I bumped into some folks who were also curious, and happy to see that happening. So it's good. And I think I narrowed down the names. I reached out to a couple of folks. So it was, I think it's Troop 28, which is Cohasset Boy Scout troop, but there's Scituate residents that are in the Scout troop. And so we were originally approached by, I think it was Rory Gunther, who I think this was a life badge. So there's Rory, and then the other scout that was up there was Jonathan Lasarica, and then they were helped by their dads, Kurt Gunther and Dave Lasarica, and then the scoutmaster was, I think it was Vince Thornton. So appreciate their hard work. It was an Easter weekend, so I'm sure it was hard to muster some help, but they filled that trailer with fencing and posts, and I think Sally was in there with them. So good for them.
Yeah, no, they did a lot of good work up there. And I don't know if you had seen the Sally email, but she did say it was Cohasset 143.
143. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's
Yep.
on that's 143, I think, is their Facebook page.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Sorry, I that was not Troop.
I think it's Troop 28, but I'll correct myself if I'm
yeah, but you
it's
did get the name. Rory and Kurt were the two names that she provided in that
Yeah.
email. So yeah, huge thanks to them. It was much needed work, and like I said, a lot of work for a small group. That's for sure. So big effort there.
Good for them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
Right.
It's taken some time, but that's been a process that's been working for us. So
Yes, we see all
Yep.
these projects.
Frank, we
All
do
right.
have one hand up.
Okay. Yep. You know what? I saw Connor's name before and then it disappeared.
I
It
can
was
see it.
one of the hearings. So if we could unmute him. You there?
Connor.
Jen, you want to let me help you there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm asking him to unmute.
Oh, sorry, got it. Sorry,
There it is.
sorry.
There we go. Finally worked. All right. Thanks, everyone. This was just a quick question.
Just
Curious
name and address for
Thank you for the reminder. Connor Doherty, 603 Country Way. I know everyone's anxious to get out. It was just a general question about Border Street Field. I last saw it on your meeting agendas like back in November. Just curious when that parking lot approval is going to get moved along, or if it doesn't sit with you right now, if it's with someone else.
It's with us, Connor, and what we're trying to do, we have met a couple of times. We're trying to scrap together bits and pieces of volunteers and monies that are available. There's some that's been pledged. There's some money for the Gulf Association. We're trying to work with a couple of our members, Jen Foley, Jen Smith, myself. Been chatting with Doug Auberg, who's our other member and also a surveyor. Doug was going to come up with a couple of options that we could put forward to some of the folks that were interested, and then see if we couldn't get something going. That the parking was not funded by CPC when they purchased the property.
Won't be.
So we've got to come up with a way to piece this together with some volunteer or some, donations, as well as some of the money that I think was held over from the Gulf Association when the property was acquired. But
As I understand it, the Gulf Org has 20K plus or something like that, ready to go
Yeah.
for the parking, but I think it's more a matter of we need it approved by.
Well, we need a plan that is gonna be okay with everybody. We've looked at a couple of sites. Met out there, and we're trying to, again, you know, unfortunately, this money goes fast today. If we turned to an engineering firm and said, please draw us a plan with all of this, would 10 grand would be gone.
Yeah.
So we're trying to find volunteers, some donations, folks that will put some things together that we can do that with little or no cost, and then step it to the next piece.
So at this point, the thing that needs to happen is volunteers and money need to be secured, or a proposal needs to be in place?
So right now, we're in hopes of having like a few conceptual plans. Doug has said that he'd try to get that done for us. He's a member that's here and volunteers to do that. Try to take a look at that with some of the folks that have an interest in this, that have been involved in it right along, see if we can come to a consensus on where the parking should take place, whether we need to dismantle part of that wall.
Sure. So do you know when those plans are supposed to
it-
come in? It's just, you know, I'm feeling the urgency, given it's been a year and a half.
Well, it has been a while, but on the same token, the commission just has a lot of projects.
No,
And
I can tell. It's been fascinating listening tonight. I so appreciate the work you do. There's just so much on your plate. It's wild.
well, we'd like to get it moving, and I think a lot of people, you know, it was a big effort by a lot of folks to get that acquired and protected, and we'd like to move it to that next step. And we've knocked around some ideas, so I'm hopeful this is soon. That's the goal. And then with that, again, talking about it, whether a piece of that wall comes down, that has to go before the planning board. We have to go before the road, the street, lack of a name tonight, but so essentially there's a group that looks at roadways and openings, road openings and stuff, make sure they're safe. So there's a process, is what I'm saying, but we're hoping to move that forward sooner than later. It is on the radar.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right. I wish I could tell you it's going to happen,
It takes time.
but we know that that's of interest to a lot of folks, and we'd like to move it forward as well. So
Like to move my projects forward.
thank
All
you.
right.
Thanks.
And 5 years on mine.
All right.
Anyways, what's that?
So it's
It's
7:59.
behind.
7:59. How about a motion?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second? Did anybody else want to say anything? I'm sorry.
I second their motion.
There you go.
He seconds my motion.
So Richard, all
Happy
in
April Fools.
favor, Jen
Jen
is
has
gone.
left. Yeah.
Brendan
Yes.
and Eric.
Yes.
Great. Frank, yes. Penny, you sure you don't want the final word?
Good night, everybody.
Back to you
That's
too.
my
Night.
word.
Good night.
My
Night all.
animals are looking for me. Bye-bye.
Bye.